Hello and welcome back to Gaming with Soul, seeking soul through the lens of gaming and pop culture. And right before we started recording, she asked me if I remembered our hook. I said no. She told me the hook, and then I almost forgot the hook. Yay! So I'm host Jamie.
Hi, I'm Corin. I just put up with him.
Yeah, pretty much. Somebody should. I mean, my wife also does, but I think she's kind of sick of me at this point.
Gee, disclaimers. Firstly,
Yes.
one disclaimer we have some tech gremlins today. So if there is digital static and muffling and whatnot, please bear with us. If it gets too bad, we will abandon ship and try to record on another day. I also
Yes.
want to apologize for any rattling you guys hear in my background, because as soon as we started recording, the wind picked up and my window is loose. So the thud, thud, thud you hear in the background is my window. I've tried to jerry it, but it may still rattle. So I ask you to bear with me for that.
And disclaimer number 2, I have finished. This is at right after the last day of a 40-hour work week. I work 10-hour days. So if I'm a little tired and loopy, I do apologize. Because that is the nature of me. We normally record for my work week, and this one we're like, we've been sick for the last couple of days. We should probably record one because we're late on. Granted, we're still in the before times where we're recording a bunch running into it, but
It's been I had the flu. Well, not the flu, but some nasty, evil cold for a couple of weeks now. It wasn't the Rona. I got tested. It wasn't the Rona, but it was an evil cold.
yeah,
It was mean. Mean.
yeah, she was very sick for a while.
I was.
So before we started recording, I said I had some news before we jump into it. And it's silly news and has nothing to do with anything important. But I mentioned in a previous episode that I have one good necromancer book series. So anytime somebody's like, "Oh, show me a good necromancer," I'm like, "This one, blah." I have recently found another one, and
Okay.
I've been looking at this book series called The Necrotic Apocalypse, where essentially this 800-year-old zombie gets unfrozen and he has a shard of magic in his chest, so he has a conscience and remembers things. He accidentally starts the zombie apocalypse because of course he's been frozen. Yeah, well, he's been frozen in the ice for 800 years and he was starving when they thawed him out, so he brainlessly attacked 3 people and one of them got away, and that started the zombie apocalypse. Well, he as he advances and becomes more aware, because it's this really weird, the magical shard in his chest kind of treats the world like a video game, so he levels up and stuff like that. And as he does, he puts points in his intelligence. He becomes more aware of what he's doing, and then as he goes, he becomes a necromancer, and he's trying to stop this evil organization that has further spread the apocalypse and made it 1,000 times worse. And so it's kind of like this: zombies have already killed like 90% of the population, mostly because of this evil organization, and he's trying to save the few people he can find left as a zombie necromancer.
Cool. What's it called? And who's it by?
The book series is called Necrotic Apocalypse. The first book is called crap, I can't remember the name of the first book. I know the third book is Rend. The second book they all start with an R.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't pull up my Audible and tell you what they're called right now, because if I do that, Anchor goes, "No, you don't get Anchor anymore. Screw you."
Yeah, Anchor's a bit funny like that, but
Yeah,
do you
I'll
remember
try
the
to.
author?
No, not off the top of my head. I'll try to remember it,
Okay.
and I'll probably send you a screenshot later, and I will
No
post it
worries.
somewhere. I will
All
post
right.
it somewhere, probably on the Facebook
Well,
group today. That
yeah,
none of
that's what
you
I
will
was going to
be
say. In the group, that we will be creating. So, Gaming with Soul podcast will be a Facebook group that you guys can search, come join us, have these weird, deep fun discussions with us about pop culture and soulful stuff. So
Yep.
awesome.
Which is something.
No, that's cool. I mean, yeah, I want. I mean, going on those necromancer, the good necromancer thing. On our discussion today, I will actually be bringing up one of the feminine ones, which is Anita Blake. She's we're talking today about heroes and warriors, and we will talk hero and warrior in genderless terms. So, I mean, yes, warrior is an archetype. Sometimes the feminine is classified as the Amazon, but we will just talk them as this generic aspect. Typically, hero is seen as a masculine energy, although lots of feminine heroes are around. It's more the embodiment of that masculine energy anyway. But we really wanted to dive into and go really, really deep with hero. It's not a typical... I mean, as a character or an avatar in a game, hero's not usually your class. It's something that is part of the story. So rather than going on to those class archetypes, which is something we are going to do, this hero aspect is just an overall theme, and it is just really important to highlight because it's one of the places that we can get caught up in society, and this is kind of why. Jamie, I know for you, when we first started working together, hero was the archetype you strived for.
Yep.
That it was what you had put on the pedestal. And I think from a younger masculine perspective, tell us what hero was to you. You know, who connected you to hero? What was it that called you in hero as that from that masculine perspective?
Yeah, there's 1,000 different influences for hero, and that's the thing. It's, anywhere from Mal. Mal very much is Mal from Firefly is very much like the hero. He's I mean, he's kind of warrior, but for the most part, he's out to just be the good guy. Although he does it in the bad guy kind of. But video games, like I could probably name 100 or so different RPG video games that I play mostly RPGs, where you play a hero. Granted, that being said, I play a lot of games in general. But
why was it that hero talked to your soul when you were younger? What was it about that hero archetype that you wanted to embody, or why did you feel you wanted to embody it? What was that spoke to
you? I think it comes from being in such a position where you feel helpless some of the times. And this is gonna I don't know if this is the turn, like where this is gonna exactly go in my brain, but it comes down to seeing the people around me in my life at the time, because I've had not the greatest childhood. But it was seeing people and wanting to save them from the kind of terrible things I've dealt with. And that's all through my life from the beginning, wanting to save people from the darkness, wanting to save people from abuse, wanting to save people. And that's the striving force for me, is wanting to save people.
Stop them from going through what you went through.
Yeah. And that's a big part of it. Stop them from going through what I went through, and just pain in general. It was the mindset of, I will take the pain because I can take the pain where you shouldn't have to.
Yeah. So who were the heroes that talked and called to you the most?
There's been a lot throughout the years. Bigger ones like the main character from Final Fantasy Tactics, Ramza. He is, to an extent, was a big one in my life. Countless movies, like one of the big problems is there isn't a big one. Like, there isn't one hero that's like, that's the hero that I strive for. I took a lot of aspects from different people, things I liked, like comics, a lot of comic movies and whatnot. Judge Dredd. Judge Dredd was one that was like, this is, he's in that situation where he wants to help people, but he can't because of the law is corrupt and all that. I would probably say the biggest one, and I had it in my head a second ago. One of the biggest ones growing up, one of the biggest movie influences for me was Denzel Washington's character in Man on Fire. Thinking about it, granted that was I was a little older when that came out. Like I think I was already technically an adult at that point. But if anybody hasn't seen Man on Fire is about um, he's hired as a bodyguard for a little girl who is played by Dakota Fanning, I think. So that tells you how kind of old this is she was like 10
little,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah, she was littler. And Denzel Washington's character Creasy was hired as her bodyguard, and you spend the first half of the movie with them. Like he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of because he's had a rough past or whatnot, and then he eventually starts bonding with this kid, and then she gets kidnapped. And the second half of the movie is him getting her back. And the thing I think that sticks with me the most in that is the very end. Because in the very end, he trades his own life for hers.
The ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah. He tells them, he's like, all right, I've killed so many of your people at this point. You probably want me. So if you give back the little girl, I will go with you.
Yeah.
And that spoke to me in a big way. You know? And that's a pop culture reference. And of course, there's millions of heroes to that I am emulated. Words are tough. I aspired to take bits and pieces, and it's always that sole concept of, and it's sad in a lot of ways because it's that sole concept of my life only matters if it is used to help somebody else.
Yeah.
Which, and again, I might be railroading straight into topics you plan to lead into slowly, and I apologize for that.
It's good. It shows us this is why these are the doorways.
It's a very unhealthy mindset about it because it's defining your worth, and it's what's unhealthy about the hero specifically.
Yeah.
Because it's defining your worth by how good you are for other people or how much you can help other people. And
which is an aspect of hero. But it was interesting that you mentioned in that particular movie that he sacrifices himself at the end, because that kind of leads into Death of Hero, which was rite of passage stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the depths that we're going to be working into. But I really wanted that masculine perspective as well. I mean, society's put a lot of pressure on masculine to be hero.
Yeah, to your life is in this, not even in the service, but you got to be the bombastic, high arrogant. I like the word arrogant in this context. Egotistical. I'm going to save everyone, and that's kind of, we're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to blah blah blah. We have to be larger than life and save everybody.
And that's been idolized.
And, yeah, in a big way.
Yeah, that kind of leads into my perspective or my direction of it. Me being a little bit older, so of course, while I was growing up, hero was savior, especially to little girls, to women, to the princess. We were taught. Now, yes, things are changing quite dramatically now, but there are still big holes and gaps in this, which again we will go into a little bit further. But for the longest time, I mean, it really has only been the last maybe 20 years or so, it is really being highlighted that woman was like the Disney princess. We were waiting around to be rescued. The whole Disney thing, someday my prince will come. We are waiting for hero. We are waiting for someone to come in and make it all better.
Oh, duh. God, I'm dumb.
What?
My first big hero aspect is Aladdin. I fucking loved that movie growing up. I watched that movie so much that my tape fell apart. But you started mentioning Disney, and yeah,
Yeah.
Aladdin was my first big hero aspect because it was, he saves the princess. Granted,
Yeah.
Jasmine kind of saves herself in that movie in a lot of ways.
Well, it's
J-
an interesting thing that we're going from that age because that it was one of the movies I wanted to highlight because it was the dawn where in those times the princesses became a little bit more kick-ass.
yeah,
They
because
they 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 were no, you go.
Jasmine is far more badass than Aladdin is in a good chunk of that movie.
Well, that actually goes into kind of one of the things that we do need to talk about. But yeah, Aladdin went through the character development where he was just the selfish street kid with a good heart to caring about something bigger than
Yep.
himself. There was those elements in that, right? And he literally did go through the rite of passage where he nearly died, where he was drowning. That would have been an old world rite of passage, the death of
Yep.
hero to be reborn as warrior. The problem, of course, with Jasmine and the archetypes of the princesses, even the kick-ass princesses, first and foremostly, there was no character development.
Yeah.
She never changed. And this was the big thing, and we still see it. And we will talk about Disney because as kids, it is one of the first things that influences us because our
Yep.
Disney movies, they shaped us. They were written and done so beautifully that they were designed to tap into our emotions. These were the stories, these are the legends that, our generations were brought up with. And yes, we can see the evolution of it. Of course, we look at things like Moana, we look at Frozen,
Tangled was
a
the other
lot.
one.
Tangled
Was
was
another one.
another one. Yep, Brave is another one too,
I
where
love
we've got
Brave.
these kick-ass women, these kick-ass
Yep.
heroes. But you look at Anna, you look from Frozen, you look at Moana, you look at Jasmine, you look at all of them. There's no character development. They start their story kick-ass and they don't really evolve.
Yeah, that's
There's
fair.
very little change in their character. They may learn certain things. They will go through a period in there where they doubt themselves and then rediscover their hero, their inner hero. But you don't see the character development that you see in Flynn Rider from Tangled, where he
Yep.
started as this, he cared about nothing but himself to again caring about something bigger, not just the girlfriend, but that there was something bigger at stake. And
Yeah.
that's where hero turns into warrior. It was the same with Aladdin. It stopped being about him and it started being about what was in the right, or what was the good of the country. He's like, well, I'm just a street
Yep.
kid. I can't be Sultan. I'm not good enough for that. And that's the death of ego, which is where hero turns into warrior.
Yep. Sadly,
So
they've made a couple remakes of Aladdin. One of them's live action, and I refuse to see it because it doesn't have my favorite character in it anymore. Because of course he is passed on, unfortunately, which is very
yes,
sad.
yes,
However, an interesting, and I don't know if it was their intent for it to kind of be, but it's kind of a retelling of the Aladdin story in a very different way that I saw recently. That was really
what was
good. It's
that?
called Wish Dragon.
Okay,
It's told through the lens of more of a Chinese Japanese kind of a thing where it's a wealthy woman who had grown up with the main character, but then she came into wealth or whatever and got I only caught bits and pieces of it honestly, but it has a lot of the same elements. Like he finds a wish dragon. The last wish was supposed to be to set it free, but instead he goes to use it to wish to get her back and all this stuff. And yeah, it very much follows the same beats as Aladdin in a lot of
yep.
interesting ways. Yeah,
Humanity and I will say for millennia, we have idolized the hero.
yeah,
Whether they be masculine or feminine, whether they be, pull from legend, whether they be from mythology, whether they are a character in a book, a series, a game, anything. We've been told to idolize hero.
Yep.
We have been told to put this energy on a pedestal, to embody it, to be the hero for everyone else in the world. The problem is hero, firstly, it's flawed. It is a terribly flawed archetype, and we will delve into that in a moment, but mostly because it disempowers us. Because we are taught that if our life is shit, a hero will come and fix it. We just need to wait for our hero.
Yeah, which is why I love, and this is a song that wasn't as popular and a lot of people didn't like it, but some people did. There was a song Hero by the lead singer of Nickelback and
Chad Kroeger. Yeah, love that song.
Chad Kroeger and the lead singer of Saliva. And I absolutely adore that song. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's, it's Nickelback. Whatever. I don't care. I like some Nickelback
I
songs.
like Nickelback. I'm selective, but I don't mind some Nickelback. I know why people poo on them, stuff it. I still like them. So you can hate me if you want. I'm old enough. I don't care.
That's fair. But the line from that song, and part of the reason I always love that song, is the line is, they say that a hero will save us. I'm not going to stand here and wait.
Yeah, exactly. And the truth is, yeah, a hero will save us, but we have to be that hero for us.
Yeah.
We have to be that hero for ourselves. Now, I will absolutely acknowledge that sometimes being the hero for yourself means reaching out for help.
Yes, definitely.
To be the advocate, to say, you know what, I'm not okay.
Yep.
Whatever is going on in my life right now, I'm not okay. And I know that if I just sit here and wait for someone to come into my life and make it better, I'm screwed.
Yep.
Because most people are so caught up in their own stuff that unless they are really intuitive or really plugged in or really aware, we don't always see when someone is suffering and struggling, especially when we're taught to hide our suffering and struggling. So until we have the ability to be enough of a hero for ourselves to reach out to someone and say, hey, please, I need some help, that is saving yourself. Yes, the other person can help you save yourself, but we need to save ourselves.
Yep. Sorry. Again, I'm very tired, so I'm going to be looping back to certain things because I'm like, wait, I completely skipped this. My grandpa would have been my first. I went straight to the media influences and whatnot because that's kind of what this podcast was about, and that's where my mind goes. But as far as actual heroes, that I would model, my grandfather, who sadly died when I was very young. He died when I was 5, but he was always he would have been my first hero, and my mom lovingly tells me stories about him all the time, and I will, that's my family is crazy because my grandpa was the guy who was out chainsawing down trees in his tidy whities, and and crazy stuff like that. But yeah, he would have been. He used to sit me down on his knee and tell me old stories, most of which my mom would go, "That's inappropriate for a kid," because he was a soldier, and so
So programming in that fighter, that warrior, from a young age. And this is the thing. We will go back into why is our hero so flawed? So even if he manifests himself in our lives, and if we watch it in stories, we watch him in games, we watch Hero. I mean, let's face it, Hero has been so idolized, especially at the moment with DC and Marvel taking over our big screen. These massive blockbusters and tapping into all of these old comic book stories and sagas. I mean, I will say I'm a fan. I've always been a bit of I'm more of a Marvel girl, I will say that.
Yeah, so
but Wonder Woman I will use as a really good example for this. Yet another, she starts her story kick-ass. She learns more, but she doesn't really evolve as the character. You don't see that evolution of character. But Hero in her story was a good example of what we expect or what is flawed about Hero as an archetype. In her story, her hero, her love, her man, died
Yeah.
twice. He made some great sacrifice for her to continue on her journey. And this, unfortunately, is the problem with Hero as something to idolize, is the hero's not grown up. If
Yeah.
you look at every story, every legend, every tale where he is hero, the hero's story ends in one or two ways. Number one, he dies.
Yep.
Which again, it ties into the rite of passage aspect, but that's a different thread that we'll follow in a moment. But the other aspect is once he has rescued the princess, once Hero has saved who they needed to save, once Hero has defeated the creature they needed to defeat, once Hero has saved the people they needed to save, that's their story ends.
Yep.
Hero's story ends the moment they succeed. There is very
Yep.
little. I mean, usually most of those tales were, and they lived happily ever after.
Yep.
Great. The hero has no clue how to look after the people they've rescued
Correct.
because he
Because
was
they're
never
always,
taught how to do that.
and he's always rushing out to rescue the next person.
And that's just it. He's
They.
constantly looking for the next they. Yes, I do apologize. Hero is a they. I'm old. I'm breaking this old programming, but yes, they. Hero, they don't know how to adult.
Yeah.
let's be blunt about that. They don't know how to stop and enjoy the win.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to keep and look after the people that they have rescued. They were never taught how to do that. And so they are constantly seeking something else. So in a relationship, if you ever had one of those people that rides into your life, kind of makes it, fixes or is exactly what you need at that moment, the moment you're good, they'll ride off again. And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a physical thing. It can be an energetic thing. And why a lot of relationships end up going stale after that initial connection, because it's like, well, now I've won you. I don't need to put the effort into keeping you.
Yeah.
And that's where it falls apart. As an archetype and an energetic hero, like I said, he is the last stage of immature masculine energetics. He is
Yeah.
teenage boy. That is why I tend to refer back to him as he. But again, this is an energetic that women are perfectly capable of embodying. This is
Oh
not
yeah.
about sexuality. This is an energetics. And so in male hero in particular, this was why the old world always had the rite of passage.
Yep.
Just as teenage boy gets to that I'm immortal and nothing can stop me, and pushing himself to his limits to test just how good and how strong and how powerful he is, that's when rite of passage would happen, where they were led through a ceremony that literally brought them close to death
Yeah.
in order to teach humility and in order to allow themselves to be reborn to the next level. And of course, the next level from hero is warrior. Very, very simply, the difference between hero and warrior. Hero, there is always something in it for himself.
Yep.
Now, he may be, or they, sorry, again, they may be serving some greater, higher purpose, but there is usually something in it for themselves. Often it can be vindication. Often it can be revenge.
Yep.
Often it can be proving themselves, redeeming themselves. Any one of these things where there is legitimately something in it for them. Warrior doesn't test their limits for themselves. They push the limits for a greater purpose.
Yep.
And that's where hero dies and warrior is reborn, because warrior doesn't give a damn about himself or themselves. Warrior is there to serve the greater good. Now, this could be a cause, it could be the king, it could be their beliefs, any number of things. Think more the Shaolin monk, just as an energetic Shaolin monk, which is just pure warrior. It is this detached. There's a lack of emotion to warrior. Warrior is a little bit of a detached, energetic, and an archetype. There are embodied warriors, but as a strict archetype, they tend to be an element of emotionless. Feminine warrior tends to bring a bit more emotion into it, but it's more from a power perspective, not an attachment. Because the moment attachment comes in, you start losing pure warrior.
Yeah.
But warrior also knows that once their deed is done, that they can go home, that they go back into the care aspect of nurturing and providing and teaching and building. Most warriors forged, most warriors, kept in some way, and then would take up their sword again for the next great cause, not for anything self-focused or egotistical.
I always look at it partially as hero goes out and looks for a fight. Warrior deals with the fights that come to him.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And
And
then
I mean, it's not to say, look, we all need a hero from time to time. We all love to have hero.
Sorry.
We all love that song too. But look, we're not shitting on hero either. Okay.
No.
What we are trying to highlight is this is not the best thing to idolize, and to point out to people that as much as hero dominates our pop culture, dominates our games, dominates our stories, to recognize that it is still a growing and immature energy.
Yeah. And
And
even after as a person who has kind of somewhat recently transitioned from hero to warrior in a lot of ways, I still struggle with it, and you will, you still revert back from time to time. It's not
look,
always just
you will always be human, okay? You're always going to have your emotions, okay? There is not always going to be times in your life where you can be completely devoid of emotions. Let's face it, there are always going to be times we will feel that we need to be validated, vindicated. Well, revenge isn't great, but justice is a valid thing to wish to pursue too. And we're not saying that you need to be completely devoid of hero. Absolutely not.
To be fair, we're not saying you need to be anything, but
No, exactly. This is true too. It is just to bring awareness. So we stop idolizing them.
yeah.
We stop idolizing the hero energy and giving away. That is the point of this. Because the more we idolize this hero, the more we listen to what the stories and what society tells us that we need to be rescued, the weaker we are. And
Yeah.
the more we can say to ourselves, I am my own hero, I am my own warrior, the more empowered we are. And that is the actual point of this, is to highlight that, we love the story of the hero. We can like him. We can even respect some heroes. But it's not the greatest to embody or to idolize. To be aware of the flaw of hero and look more to warrior, to that pure, yes, for something bigger, for something better. That fighting for what is right and good is a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not physically in a modern world. I'm not going to tell everybody to take up their swords. It's probably not advisable at this day and age, especially not in Australia. It's not really a necessary thing. But in that metaphorical, we are all being asked to take up our swords. We are all being asked to to start fighting for what is right and what we believe in order to make shifts in the world.
Yeah.
These shifts need to be a part of our evolution.
Yeah, as a people.
As a people, yes.
It is really hard to tell a story about Warrior, though. Not impossible, but it is difficult.
It is hard to tell a story about Warrior because pure Warrior is a hard archetype, again, to embody. We watch hero become warrior, and that's where we see the greatest of stories. And we see this, I mean, this again is unfortunately where the inequality between the masculine and the feminine comes in, because we can all point out so many different stories, so many different legends, so many different, books and games and things where there was a good masculine hero.
Yeah.
I mean, mythology is full of it. I mean, Heracles was Greek. Hercules was just the Roman version of him. Heracles actually was basically the name was glory over Hera, because he got his glory from defeating or overcoming the battles that Hera put on him. Now, Heracles, of course, in mythology was the god of hero.
Yeah.
That was his archetype. And his motivation, however, through most of his adventures, through those 12 steps for him, was redemption, because Hera drove him mad and he killed his wife and son.
Yeah.
So he had to overcome all these great obstacles, like defeating the Nemean lion, the Hydra, a whole bunch of other different things, to try and redeem himself. And that was his motivation. It wasn't for something greater or something brighter. I mean, we look at the stories of Perseus, we look at the stories of Achilles. There's so many, I mean, Thor, so many hero gods in mythology. The hero goddesses, not so much. I mean, Athena has her place, but she wasn't really the hero. She was the protector. I mean, you look at the goddesses that are truly warrior-esque. You look at the Morrigan, you look at Sekhmet, and you look at Kali. These are not warrior goddesses. These are, vengeance goddesses. They are angry, and they are the vengeance of the gods. So there's this fiery intensity and destructive elements to them, and they're amazing energies to work with when you do archetypal work. But when you actually, again, going back into feminine hero, for us girls, it was kind of hard because we don't see, and this is something I would love to open up a big discussion about in our Facebook group, our Gaming with Soul podcast Facebook group, is talking about the heroes and feminine heroes that we grew up with, because there's only two that really jump out at me that I ever saw real character development, where they went from being one character to being something completely different by the end. The first I'm going to talk about is Buffy. Okay, now we're going to remove the TV series, because Buffy in the TV series, she didn't evolve.
No, not particularly.
Even though she went from being 16 to being 20-something, her personality, the way she talked, her mannerisms, all of those things, it was pretty much the same. There really wasn't a great deal of evolution. However, if you look at the original movie that had Alicia Silverstone and what was his name? The guy from 90210. Luke Perry. That was him, Luke Perry. Had Alicia Silverstone and Luke Perry. Buffy started that as the absolute, rich bitch bimbo, didn't give a damn about anyone or anything. And she evolved through that movie to be warrior. And that was one element. Buffy, for the most part, was warrior. because she served because she was chosen. She didn't do it because she wanted to be popular. She didn't do it for revenge. She didn't do it for anything else. She did it because she was the chosen one and there was evil that needed to be stopped.
Yeah.
That's warrior. But the one that had the most influence on me growing up was actually Sigourney Weaver as Ripley in the
Yeah.
Alien series. Now, you go to the very first Alien movie, which is the 1970s. She was more motherly energy. She was more the caretaker or the caregiver. And through that movie, she was forced into warrior simply because everyone else died.
Yeah.
Now, she was a good example of warrior because she was scared. You know, she was so
Yeah.
scared all the way through that. And even at the start of the second movie, she was still scared. But she was warrior because in the second movie, that was her absolute biggest fear was to face these things again. But she wanted to make sure they didn't get to Earth. That was her warrior.
Yep.
And through each one of the Alien movies, Ripley evolved to being this freaky alien half-breed hybrid thing in the fourth one. But again, it was the evolution of her, and she stayed in warrior.
I was
She
gonna say,
stayed in
isn't
that
it one
warrior.
of them? She's a clone. Like
Yeah, that's
she.
the fourth one. It
Yeah.
was. Look, again, I grew up with these movies. Aliens 2 were huge for my era. Aliens 3 was a good story. Alien 4, look, it got canned. I still
Yeah.
loved it because she was so bizarre. She was so, alien-esque in that one. I liked that spin on it. But yeah, she was a clone and she had part of the alien blood and genetics in her because she was part alien from the cloning procedure. It was
Yeah.
a weird, twisted thing. Again, but beyond that, uh, I found it hard to find healthy feminine warrior where you
Yeah.
saw them change and grow. We see it a lot in masculine, but we don't see it a lot in feminine. And I think this is something that the industry needs to work on fixing to show girls that or not just girls, but feminines, that you can go from being and be soft and gentle and still stand in warrior,
Yeah.
still have
Yeah.
that element running through them. I mean, warrior was a huge thing for us in our history, in our past. It's only been really modern age where warrior, in its traditional sense, as in a person of war, isn't as necessary as it used to be. I mean, a
Yeah.
couple of 100 years ago, someone wronged your family, you went after them with a shotgun. I mean, you could still do that, but yeah, the law might have something to say about that. And it's not
Yeah.
advisable anymore, but that was the way it was. And I mean, society and life was really, you people complain about the way the world is. Have a real look at history. Have a look at how easy it was to kill someone if they pissed
Yeah.
you off, if they wronged you, especially if you had some money. And we're not just talking about paying someone to make it go away, just walk down the street, shoot someone in the head. Again,
Yeah.
not advisable in the modern society, not advisable in an awakened society. We have better ways, but warrior is still needed. Actually needed in a big way. Big way. The world needs the warriors. It's just we fight differently now.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest struggles for me is translating how that works in my brain because yeah, again, I stand fairly strong in that archetype,
Yeah.
and there is moments where I'm like, well, I could just hit them in the head a lot until they stop, and I'm like, wait, I can't. That's not how this
Can't do
works.
that anymore.
Yeah,
No.
and yeah, that comes from being an old soul, though. There's a
Yes,
well,
and
I could just hurt them.
but that's the way the old, and this is where we need to own our karma, our
Yeah,
past life stuff, those energies that are coming up through the blood to say, yeah, I know it's there. I know this is there. I'm aware this is there. In the past, yes, this was how we dealt with it, but that's not how we do it now.
Yep.
This is
And
not, there are more involved ways of resolving conflict.
yeah, and that's the other thing that I'm learning, and as I grow spiritually and whatnot, is how to better handle these conflicts. Because I used to just get mad and scream at people, and threaten to throw hands or whatnot. And now, that's not how the world works. And even then, that's not how the world works. But with a more juvenile understanding of the world, that's how you perceive it. And
so the world pushes, you push back, and it's like,
yeah,
kind of, but it's not
kind
that
of,
simple.
but it's you learn better ways to handle things. And
that's what the awakening, this is what the current awakening is all about. It's this, yes, okay, these were the ways. Yes, we still feel this stuff in our soul.
Yeah.
It's still in our soul. And again, games give us this way to express that, to relive that, to allow us to catalyze or to transcend through that energy, give it an outlet to vent that and say, okay, well, I've been able to do my little fight there. I've gotten that out of my system. All right, how can I deal? How can I deal with this real stuff?
Yeah. And talking about the translation, and this is slightly tangential, which is fine. It's the same as I always say about the Norse faith, because I do stand very, very high in that too. And I say a lot, I'm like, everyone's like, oh, but that means you have to fight constantly and you're always fighting. And yeah, that is a part of it, but I don't think the mindset is the same anymore. It's yes, I do not give up without some kind of fight. But it's not the I'm going to throw hands, swing and fight. It's a mindset of not letting the world just roll over you. Like I like to put it as, let's say, somebody gets a fatal disease. It's not just being like, well, this is my fate now. I'm just going to lay down and accept it. It's, yeah, this is probably going to take me, but I'm going to do as much as I can before it does. I'm going to push back against it to get as much done for the good of everything as I can.
To go out kicking.
And so no, it's not. And I believe that is and this is me getting into my religion over my, whatever, but I believe that is my path to Valhalla, is not, I have to die swinging an axe and fighting somebody, but it's the not just giving up and letting the world win,
The standing up for something.
Yeah, standing up for something, not just letting myself be compromised, letting my ideals and beliefs be compromised because the world tells me I'm wrong.
And then when, again, seeing injustice, seeing the inequalities and standing up for them too.
Yep.
I mean, modern day warriors protest, modern day warriors petition, modern day warriors stand up for their causes, whether that be animal rights, whether it be civil rights, whether it be humanitarian rights, whether it be for a particular group, whatever. That's how we fight now. When we see injustice, we stand against it. And that fighting can simply be standing up for a friend.
Yeah. And
it can be just simply saying, this is not okay.
Yep. And for me, it's a lot of building a community and defending it. That's where I strive to be. And it also comes down to learning to pick your fights. But
yeah, that is a big one. Because, yes, there are a lot of battles that are not worth our energy, not worth our attention. We've all gotten into a disagreement with somebody, looking at them going, this is just a waste of my I'm not going to get through here. It's just, there's that wall. No, it's not worth it. And when there are so many more of us, we do need to pick our battles better.
Yeah. Well, that and there's certain battles that you just can't fight anyway. You know.
Yes, this is true too. There are some fights that are unwinnable if you charge at them head on. It's like, yeah, you charge the main gates, you're likely to get annihilated. But if you can find the way around, if you can find the back door in, if you can find a different way to fight, then that can
Yep.
often be the doorway for us as well. But I think the big thing we go back into here is just remembering that waiting for hero is disempowering.
Yeah.
By buying into the whole, yes, we need to be rescued. We, where is my hero? Where is my savior? Where is the one that is going to come and make it all better? The more we realize that this keeps us trapped, that there is even an element of control in that mindset, because the more proactive we are, the more we go out and fight for ourselves, the more we empower ourselves, the harder we are to control.
Yeah. Well, and even coming at it from the other end of being the person who goes out and saves the people, there's you have to be very careful with that, because then a lot of people, there ends up being expectations. Like, you
Yes.
go out and save somebody and then you expect, oh, they should be loyal, they should be whatever. And that's another dangerous road to walk down, and kind of another defining, to me anyway, defining between warrior and hero is, as hero, and this is the mindset I used to have, would be I'd go out and help somebody and save somebody, and then it would be, well, now they're indebted to me. Now they're
Yeah.
indebted to me, and then when they don't pay it back, because why the hell would they? Like, it's ridiculous to assume people, just because you help them, are going to help you back.
Yeah. And that
You
goes
get
into, again, that loss of power and loss of
Yeah,
control. It all works
exactly.
together.
But then you get angry, and then you go down a vengeance path against the people you helped, and then it creates this terrible, like, engine of perpetual saving and destroying the people you're saving, and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Where warrior, it's a lot different. It's more, at least to me, and this is where I'm coming at it from, it's a lot of, I I'm not going out and finding people to save. I'm saving the people that I know are going to support me back. And not because they're going to support me back, but that's because that's what a community is. You support each other.
Mm.
And so it's, I fight the fights that threaten that. The people
Yeah.
who are supporting each other to, you know, build something greater than ourselves. And that's my,
See,
a family, a community, a guild. That's what we're doing.
yeah. And that is part of it, but there's even an element of hero in that, because true
Yeah,
hero doesn't even care whether or not, it's not hero, so true warrior, it's it is about doing what is right. It's not
yeah.
about any expectations. True warrior expects no return.
I
True
think this
warrior
is
fights. Yeah.
this is one of the things where I'm too tired to fully explain what I mean, because it's
Yeah.
it's it's not an expectation. I don't expect, like, my friends to support me or this or that. It's
Mm.
This is a group, a safe space where people support each other, and that's worth saving. And that's
Worth
worth defending.
protecting and preserving. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, in the defense and the preservation, yes, absolutely. But we do that because this is our community, this is our home, these are our
fair.
people, this is my job to do that. Not even because, let's face it, in our communities, there's usually somebody there not pulling their weight. There will
Yeah,
always be. In every community, there will be somebody in there, but just like, I wish they would do their share. And it's not
yeah,
like, you know what, I'm not going to protect you because you don't pull your share. It's simply, you are part of my people. You come under my protection.
yeah.
And that is pure warrior essence. But yeah,
Yep.
hero is taught, or there is an element of that expectation to hero. Now, that element of expectation from hero may not be a monetary or a
Oh
physical
no.
reward, but they do expect adoration.
Yep. Yeah. That was
Hero
the
wants to be adored. That energy wants to be idolized. That's even if there's nothing else, that is their payoff. It's the ego that comes out of it. Whereas the warrior is far more likely to disappear without thanks.
Yeah.
The hero will be the one standing in the center of town being cheered. And again, nothing wrong with that from time to time, but it is not something we should embody and live for, because it eventually will set us up for disappointment.
Uh-huh. That was kind of the point I was trying to make. You said it far more eloquently than my tired ass did, but
there you go. I channeled your message for you.
Yeah. I do apologize for the tireds, but again, just got off of 40-hour, and my job is not a easy,
physical job. So yes, you are
physical,
allowed to be tired. We give you that permission. It's okay.
Oh, my job is not only physical. My job is physical and mental, and that's what makes it taxing as hell. Because it's a lot of physically moving really heavy metal to try to mentally get it to be a good part through thoughtful moving and whatnot, math, and there's a lot of math in there's a surprising amount of math in my job.
But yes, look, we love a hero. We love a story of a hero. We love the tale of the hero. But always remember, he is flawed. They are flawed. Yeah. This is not something to idolize. We can love, we can enjoy, we can even respect, but do not idolize. Fair. Do not try to live your life from the energy of hero, because it'll screw you over, simply.
Yeah, but also, there's no shame in being the hero. It's just a step on a greater path.
Exactly. There is nothing wrong with being the hero occasionally. There is nothing wrong with wanting to save people. It's a good thing to want to help people. It is a wonderful thing to want, when you see someone in trouble, to want to go and do the right thing. But when you go in with expectation, you are embodying hero. When you go in from the I am doing this because it is the right thing to do, with no expectation, no wishing for reward, not even wanting a thank you, but going in to do it simply because it is the right thing to do, it is the purest and the highest and the most evolved way of behavior, and will ultimately be more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because the action itself is the reward, not acting for reward. And that's the difference. So I will do it because it'll make me feel good about myself. And even if I never hear from that, or even if they don't even say thank you, I will know I did something good. That old Boy Scout motto, that was my good deed for the day.
Yeah.
It's an important thing for us. And yes, being that warrior and helping and saving people when we can, when we see it, when we catch it, it's a good thing to do. It always makes us feel great. Being a hero makes us feel wonderful. But remember, it's easy to go into warrior.
Yeah. And now, of course, in the grander scheme of things, we're not just talking about like winning or standing up and winning fights or whatnot. Even hero, there's small acts of warrior and hero you can do. Even things like, wishing a random stranger a good day. Like, that doesn't seem like much. It's not a grand gesture, but I guarantee you it makes that person feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just doing the right thing or a good thing.
It's the same with catching when somebody you know and care about is down.
Yep.
When they say something that it just hits you as, that's a little bit odd, you reach out, it's like, are you okay?
Yeah.
That can be one of the greatest ways you can save someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just by reaching out to them saying, hey, are you okay? Can I help? Yep. Is there something I can do? Do you want me to come and spend some time with you? Yeah. Not to necessarily even to rescue, but to just be there. Yep. Sometimes the greatest way to rescue someone is just to sit there while they vent, pour their heart out, release their sadness. That it can be the greatest way you can fight for someone.
Yeah.
Is to just be in their corner.
And so, yeah, when we talk about these things, we're not just talking about big, grand things, little things.
No.
Everything makes
The
a difference.
littlest things can change lives.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was a wonderful story once about this young man who ended up being valedictorian or ended up finishing school with the highest honours. And he goes on about telling this story about, there was one day he had experienced horrific bullying. He'd been experiencing it for such a long time. And he was literally on the bus on his way home, going home to kill himself. And I think it was some girl, an older girl or whatever, came and sat next to him on the bus and just started talking to him. Just showed him a little bit of kindness, just showed him a little bit of compassion, just gave him a little bit of a pep talk.
Yep.
And, it changed his mind. Basically said to him, hey, look, everyone's not against me. Everyone's not out to get me. Everyone's not horrible. And it saved his life.
Yeah.
This is the thing, though. Sometimes those little acts of kindness, we don't realize just how important a fight it was for that person in that moment.
Yeah. There's a Twitter that I follow who's a Twitch streamer, and they on a near daily basis. I know they struggled with some stuff, but they like to post things that I find very helpful and I use to talk to people. And I admire this person a lot for what they do. It's where I get things like, and you've heard me say it, it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to want to be okay. It's okay. They will post near daily, you're awesome, you're doing good, you got this, good morning, it's okay to not be okay, all these things. And I think they've shared a few things about their depression and whatnot, so I know how hard it is for them to even do that sometimes. And that's, to me, that's one of those things where I see that and I'm like, that is a warrior doing warrior things.
Yeah.
And I see the messages, like there is no them, and I'm sure they struggle in their real life. They keep such a positive attitude on their social media anyway, and I guarantee you that there are times where they're not, like they're sitting in their room and they're falling apart or whatever. But I'm always excited to see one of their messages saying something like, you've got this.
Yeah.
They posted one today and I commented on it because it was I don't comment on many things, but yeah, I'm what they call a lurker, where I don't post a lot, but I posted on this. Be grateful for the things you have, but keep striving to be better if you want to.
Yeah.
And that's like those are the kind of powerful messages they post on a near daily basis. That speaks volumes. It's a very hard lesson to learn too. To be grateful for the things you have is a very hard lesson to learn.
If we still got you, look, check us out on Facebook. Look for Gaming with Soul podcast. Check us out online. We haven't got the website up yet, so we can't actually give you links. But if you find our page, Gaming with Soul, you'll find the links to the website and everything else that we have. Come and join our community. Come and join our discussions. We love to hold space for you. Talk about all this deep, meaningful, and insane stuff and how it all ties together, because it does. It all does.
Or even just talk about shallow things. I mean, just talk.
Yeah.
That's all we really
Come
want.
and talk to us about your favorite game. Come and talk to us about your favorite hero. Who was it that inspired you? Who is it that you look up to and admire? Who gives you the goosebumps? Who gives you the willies? Just, yeah, we're open to having these discussions about your favorite stories and how they affect you.
Yep. With that, I mean, have a lovely day.